Hello my friends, welcome to my channel, Lindy's Magpie Reads. If you're new here, I'm Lindy. I read a lot, pretty much a book a day, and since my last video I've finished 7 books, so that's what I'm going to tell you about today. And also, before I do that, I've been asked how I hear about these books that I read, and the answer is lots of different places. I pay attention to book prize long lists. I read professional reviews in places like Booklist and Publishers Weekly and Library Journal and School Library Journal. Often members of the book clubs that I'm in will mention books or send links to reviews. I'm in 3 different book clubs. I also get a lot of marketing emails from publishers, often with offers of advance reading copies, which I almost always turn down because I don't like feeling like I'm obligated to read something and then talk about it. So what I do instead is, if the book interests me, then I'll make a note of it, usually on Goodreads, and then eventually borrow it from the library. There's often such a lag time between when I hear about a book to when I get my hands on a copy that I can't even remember where I heard about it, but those are some of the main sources. Oh yeah, I also do browsing in bookstores. I've come across books that way. I attend author events online and in person. I listen to a bunch of different book podcasts, and I also watch a lot of BookTube, and so I hear about books from other booktubers. And 2 of the books that I'm going to be talking about today, I heard from a couple of different non-binary booktubers. Nyambura of 100 On Books and Kit of Kit the Reader. So, on to the books. The first one is an audiobook, Acts of Violet. It's by Margarita Montimore. She was born in Soviet Ukraine, grew up in the US, and that is the background of the 2 sisters that this novel is about, Violet and Sasha. Violet is a stage magician with a huge celebrity following, and one night she disappears. The vanishing act that she does, instead of coming back, she never does. Nobody knows what's happened to her, and 10 years down the line is when this story takes place. It's kind of a blend of genres. There's the family drama. It's also a crime thriller and science fiction slash paranormal slash quantum physics, I guess. Now, the audiobook is fantastic. It has got 10 different narrators, which works so well because the story is told in a bunch of different textual ways. Part of it is a podcast where the podcaster is trying to figure out what happened to Violet Vock and interviews a bunch of people. And then there are email exchanges and articles from magazines and newspapers, that sort of thing. In addition to the voice mainly of Sasha, the sister, and she's the main voice, and the audio narrator for her is Brittany Pressley. It is a light, entertaining, pretty fun listen. Next, I want to tell you about Permafrost by Eva Baltasar. This was written in Catalan and translated by Julia Sanches. It is Baltasar's first novel, or novella really, it's not very long. And Baltasar is a poet. I think she's had at least 10 books of poetry published. I heard about this because her second novel, Boulder, is on the shortlist for the International Booker Prize. And actually, when that long list came out and I looked at all of the titles, Boulder was the one I was most interested in because it is about a lesbian protagonist. I checked at my local library and there were no copies of anything by Baltasar. But fortunately, my local indie bookstore, Audrey's Books, had this one on shelf, her first one. So that's what I read. And based on how much I enjoyed it, I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on Boulder. It's actually part of a triptych. So this is book 1, Boulder's book 2, and the third one, Mammoet, has already been published but not translated to English yet. Somebody asked me if you need to read these in order, and I don't know. But I'm guessing that the answer is no. Based on what I know about Boulder and having read this, I'm guessing that the links between them are thematic rather than a certain character that you follow. But I'm not sure. If you've read them both, please say so in the comments down below and say what you think about the order of reading. I'd appreciate that. Thanks. For me, the biggest appeal is the language, the sentences. Oh, you can tell that she is a poet. And there's a lot of humor in this, but it's a dark story because our central character has so much difficulty connecting emotionally with other people. She doesn't have a hard time connecting on a body level. She has a lot of sex, but doesn't feel that emotional connection. It's like she's covered in frost. And the other thing that's going on through this whole book is her thinking about suicide. So if that's a trigger for you, that's a good thing to know. She travels around. She goes to Scotland, where the green almost makes her feel sick, and Brussels, where she feels like any city that's got a boy pissing as its emblem is the kind of place that she would like. Now, because it's the language that really appeals to me in this, I definitely want to read you some passages to give you an idea. I'm 12 years old. I've grown up, and everything to do with sex, or at least the sex other people have, is a bit less taboo. People don't realize this, but apparently sex works the same as coffee or certain kinds of food. When you're little, your palate isn't fully developed. The adults laugh and tell you that once you're grown up, you'll learn to appreciate caviar, curry, or goulash. That it comes with time. It really does. I figured the same had to apply to having sex with boys because both the sex I had on my own and the sex I had in my head, featuring my girlfriends, girls in the older kids' class, the occasional teacher or actress, and the women depicted in the art books we had at home, was brilliant, without comparison. Perfect and delicious. I loved it. And the fact that I liked it so much could only mean one thing, that it was kid-friendly sex, like having macaroni and lollipops for lunch, or, at a stretch, that it was teenage-friendly sex, Pop Rocks and Kit Kats. I knew for sure that I would have to mature before I acquired a taste for sex with boys. Of course, that never does happen for her. Chapters are really short, almost vignettes that stand on their own like prose poems. And even though there isn't a lot of plot, there is a narrative arc that comes to a very satisfying conclusion. Okay, Frida has left the room. Let's hope that there's no more cat interruptions. Next up is a first volume of a manga series that was recommended by Nyambura of 100 On Books. It's called The Way of the House Husband. It's by Kousuke Oono, translated by Sheldon Drzka. This is dark and very funny. I actually laughed out loud. That doesn't happen to me often. Our central character, the house husband of the title, is formerly of the Yakuza, the Japanese criminal underworld. And now he stays at home while his wife goes to work. He does things like prepare fancy bento box for her for lunch and takes photos of it for Instagram. He gets mad at the Roomba, the robot vacuum cleaner, for not getting into the corners. Demonstrates how you need to wrap a stick, and it's a katana sword that he's got to do this. There's often that kind of double entendre where it's like a criminal attitude about something as simple as housework. And when he's out grocery shopping or running after his wife because she's forgot her lunch, he ends up encountering people who knew him from his previous life, and those interactions are always hilarious. It's just really, really fun. Looking forward to more in this series. And this one I heard about on Kit the Reader's channel. It's called Welcome to St. Hell, My Trans Teen Misadventure. It's a graphic memoir by Lewis Hancox, who grew up in St. Helens, also known as St. Hell, which is not very far from Liverpool. The vocabulary in here had these Northwest England expressions that really bring the flavor through. Lewis shows himself in the panel with his younger self and very compassionate towards, I don't know, the cringe-worthy awkwardness of trying to fit in as a girl when you're not. His art style is very cartoony and easy to follow. Thanks for recommending this, Kit, because I really enjoyed it, and I'm counting it as one of my Trans Girl April reads. Trans Girl April information linked below, and say Kevvie and Books and Bow channels, the two hosts. Also, People April, that Elizabeth of Bookhands and Books and Roz of Scallydandling About the Books have been hosting. True stories about people, memoirs and biography. And if you're somebody who doesn't normally read graphic novels, I think you'll find this one really approachable. It's so relatable. You know, even though I'm not trans myself, I could so much relate to what was going on at that age. Yeah, high school is hell for a lot of people. So April is Poetry Month, and also picture this, the picture book readathon for adults that Shelly and Jack are hosting this month. More information down below. I picked up Remember. It's a poem by the former U.S. Poet Laureate Joy Harjo, who is Mvskoke Creek, and it's illustrated by Michaela Goade, who is Tlingit, So 2 Indigenous creators. And I'm going to insert a video here of me reading it so that you can see the gorgeous illustrations. Remember by Joy Harjo. Illustrations by Michaela Goade. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away to night. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them. Listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember, you are all people, and all people are you. Remember, all is in motion, all is growing, is you. Remember, you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember. I'm down to my last 2 books now, and I had a really hard time deciding which is my favorite to leave to the end, because I love them both. I'm going to tell you about Wash Day Diaries. So this is by a creative team consisting of Jamila Rouser, who is a queer author from Jamaica, now living in the US. And the illustrations are by Robyn Smith, who is Dominican and Puerto Rican. And it's about 4 friends living in New York City, all Black women, and they each have their own story, so it's very slice of life, but the important theme through it all is their strong friendship and support of each other. One of the 4, Cookie, is a lesbian. Love the queer rep in this. And like with The Way of the House Husband, I laughed out loud at some of the scenes in here. So I don't know if my funny bone is just particularly sensitive this week or what, but yeah, very fun. It's more uplifting than Way of the House Husband. There's more hard-hitting underlying issues that are dealt with, like difficulty in like sorting out family relationships and having a stalker boyfriend, ex-boyfriend. And the story that got me the most in the feels is Davine's, because she is going through depression. Now, if you're looking for a book for Mental Health May, this would be, a good choice. Davine is having trouble getting out of bed. She missed her hair appointment, and so the next day she phones in sick because she cannot face what happened the last time she went into work with natural hair. And she calls her friend Cookie, who comes over to cornrow her hair so that she can put a wig on. And then when Cookie gets her to talk about what's going on with her, and Davine says she's been seeing a therapist and she's considering starting medication, Cookie's reaction is one that I have seen before, where friends think that they know better than medical professionals, and later on in the book we see that Davine is getting better and she's on the right track, so that is really encouraging too. There's just so much good energy in here, and I highly, highly recommend this. And last up is Brown Girls by Daphne, Palasi, Andreade, who's a Filipina American. I had heard about this somewhere, but didn't pick it up until it was on the Carol Shields Prize list. I will link the short list below. So I've read 3 from the short list now, and Suzette Meyer's The Sleeping Car Porter is still my favorite. This one comes in second. It's so fresh in its telling. This is a book that I love for the language and the style. It's written in first person plural, so a we voice. Very much a song, an incantation. There's the repetition, brown girls, brown girls, brown girls, following a large cohort of girls from a block in the borough of Queens in New York City. All of them children of immigrants. So they have that immigrant experience in common, and we first meet them in childhood, and then through the book follow them all the way through to the end of their lives. Some of them die younger than they should have, but their paths are each individual. Some are queer, some are straight, some have children, some don't. Some fall in love with white people. Some move far away, some stay close to home. But there's always that sense of we-ness, of community, of figuring out who they are as multiples. I love that sense of identity being multiple that comes through so strongly in here, and it's so joyful and celebratory to give you a taste of why I love this writing. I'm going to read a bit to you. Brown girls, brown girls, brown girls who, in their bones, are beginning to understand that they are the sum of many identities, many histories at once. The colonized, the colonizers, where do we fall? And then later, why did we ever believe home could only be one place, when existing in these bodies means holding many worlds within us? If you're looking for something for May, which is Asian Heritage Month, I know this isn't a book for everyone because there is no central character and there isn't any in-depth exploration of any of these girls. And there's no plot, really, aside from following lives. But if you're somebody who reads for language and innovation in style and the feeling of immigrant experience and what it is to be American and have multiple identities, this is so good, so good. So that's it for my Friday reads. Thank you so much for watching. If you have read any of these, or if you have recommendations for me, please leave me a note in the comments. And If you just want to say, hi, I watched your video, I'd appreciate that too, because I like knowing who you are that I'm talking to. So, thanks again. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.